Hey, beauty bosses, welcome back to the Surrender CEO. I'm Danielle, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about how to find your cost of goods or your COGs. This is something that every single business owner needs to know. This is going to help you set strategic pricing and make sure that you're actually making money in your business. If you're wondering what your cost of good means, this is how much it costs you to make the product. So we're talking about the ingredients in your formula. We're talking about the labels, the packaging, everything that goes into making that one product. This may even include your thank you cards or any inserts that you may put into every single order. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to calculate your cost of good for a body oil. So whether you're a maker or whether you're buying a body oil wholesale to resell, I'm going to teach you how to calculate that cost. And please keep in mind, these numbers are made up. These are not accurate. They're just for the purpose of this video and teaching. So before we get started, I want you to get out a notebook so that you can write all this down. Or you can get your computer out and open up an Excel spreadsheet so that you can kind of work through this with me. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to list out your formula, or some people may say your recipe. So what ingredients are you going to use? How much of that particular ingredient is needed? We're going to write that out. For this particular example, we're going to make 32 ounces of body oil with 3% fragrance oil. So the formula we're going to use is 12 ounces of coconut oil, 12 ounces of apricot oil, 4 ounces of jojoba oil, 3.04 ounces of rosehip oil, 0.96 ounces of fragrance oil, for a total of 36 ounces of body oil. I want to make a note here that you can do this in grams, you can do it in milliliters. I just used ounces, but depending on your formula, you may need to do it differently. Regardless, these steps will not change. For step 2, what we're going to do is find the cost per unit for the ingredient. So let's take coconut oil, for example. If you are to buy a gallon of coconut oil, you want to determine how much 1 ounce of coconut oil is going to cost. In order to do this, you're going to take the bulk price of what you spent and divide it by the measurement. So we'll walk through each oil example by example, but when you do this, you want to keep in mind the total cost that you spent on that product. So you want to make sure to include not just what the price listed on the website is, but you also want to include the taxes and if there's any shipping on that product. So you have the total true cost of that item. So for coconut oil, if you buy a gallon of coconut oil, that's 128 ounces. You're going to take the total that you spend on coconut oil divided by 128. So if the total price of the coconut oil with taxes and shipping is $52.79, you're going to divide that by 128. That's going to give you 41 cents per ounce. You're going to do this for every single ingredient. So let's walk through all the ingredients. 128 ounces or a gallon of apricot oil is $49.72 all in. Divide that by 128, that's going to give you 39 cents per ounce. Jojoba oil, 128 ounces of jojoba oil, that is $84.61. Again, these are made up numbers. Just stick with me. Divide $84.61 by 128. That's going to give you 66 cents per ounces for jojoba oil. Also, y'all, before you get overwhelmed, once you know your cost per ounce or cost per gram, you can do this rather easily. It's just initially, it is a little tedious. All right. So 66 per ounce for your jojoba oil. Rosehip oil. So rosehip oil is very expensive. So I just put that we're only going to buy 64 ounces of rosehip oil. And that's going to run us that's going to run us 55.88. You're going to divide 55.88 by 64. That's going to give you 87 cents per ounce. Also, I want to note here that this is 87 cents per ounce. This is very expensive compared to something like apricot oil that's only 39 cents per ounce. So keep this in mind when you're formulating. Keep in mind the cost of your ingredients. So if you have a lot of expensive ingredients in a product, you're going to have to charge more for that. You got to make sure you have customers that are willing to pay that. This is also going to cost you. If you use a lot of expensive ingredients or you use a lot of ingredients per product, that's going to cost you. So keep that in mind when you're formulating in your bottle. You may only want to use 1 to 2 more expensive oils per product so you don't drive your own cost of goods up, right? And then your fragrance oil, let's say 8 ounces cost $15.47. You're going to divide that. That's going to give you $1.93 per ounce. The next thing you're going to do, step 3, is you're going to multiply your cost by how much you need. Now we're going to do our multiplication. So your coconut oil, you have 12 ounces of coconut oil times 41 cents per ounce. That's going to give you $4.92. Your apricot oil, 12 ounces times 39 cents per ounce. That's going to give you $4.68. Jojoba oil, 4 ounces times 0.66. That's going to give you $2.64 for your jojoba oil in that formula. Rosehip oil, 3.04 ounces times 0.87 gives you $2.64. And so you can look at that and you can say, wow, I use less rosehip oil in this formula, but it cost me the same amount as the jojoba oil, right? And this is just really good for you as a business owner to have an understanding of. It's very important for you to understand your cost for your ingredients and your raw materials. Okay, your fragrance oil, 0.96 ounces times $1.93. That's going to give you $1.83. You're going to add all that up. Okay, you're going to add all those numbers that you just calculated. That's going to give you $16.71 for 32 ounces of body oil. That's how we do that. Next, it's a lot of math, y'all. It's a lot of math. Next, we have how much it cost us to make 32 ounces of body oil. Now we're going to divide that by 32. Get our cost per ounce. That's going to give you 52 cents per ounce. 32 ounces can yield you different amounts based on what you're trying to sell. Whether you're trying to sell 1 ounce bottles, 2 ounce bottles, 4 ounce bottles, 8, whatever it is important to know, because that's going to play a role in your pricing as well. We're going to use 4 ounce bottles for the sake of this example. So 1 4-ounce bottle, you're going to do your 52 cents times 4, and that's going to give you $2.08 just for the oil. Okay. If you want to sell a 1 ounce bottle, it'd be 52 cents, right? If you want to sell a 2 ounce bottle, you would do 0.52 times 2. Okay. I hope y'all are following along on this. If y'all have questions, drop them in the comments and I'd be happy to help you. But I'm trying to make this very detailed. And as long as you're writing it down and following along, I really hope this is helpful. So step 3, we got the cost per ounce or per gram, whatever measurement you're doing. We got the cost for just the oil. So just your oil to sell a 4 ounce bottle, just the oil itself is going to be $2.08. Step 4, we're going to add the packaging, okay, and the labels. We're going to do the packaging and the labels. Again, these are made up numbers, but if you, and depending on where you shop for your containers, your bottles, whatever you're going to sell your product in, it is going to depend on where you shop. Amazon is going to offer you, like if you're new starting, you may want to check Amazon for some of your containers and packaging, especially if you're on a Prime membership, because they're going to allow you to buy it in lower quantities and you're not going to have to pay for shipping. Versus if you go with a wholesaler who's selling the containers and whatnot, you're either going to have to hit a minimum to get free shipping, or you're going to have to buy a minimum of containers in order to get that lower rate. So for the sake of this, 128 bottles total for the bottles, the droppers, the taxes and shipping is going to run you 160. Divide that by 128 bottles. That will be $1.25 each. Okay, so your bottle alone is $1.25. Next, if you want to do your labels yourself, you're going to have to figure out the materials needed, and there may be a little bit of a guesstimate there. But for this example, I did make up a price. If I was to go buy 48 labels from a label vendor, that would be $64.50 total. Again, don't forget to include your taxes and your shipping. And so that would be $64.50 divided by 48 labels. That's going to be $1.34 each for your label. Okay. Now the last step, add up all these costs. So your oil is $2.08 for 4 ounces. Your bottle, your 4-ounce bottle with your dropper, that's going to be $1.25. Your label is $1.34. And so all in, your cost to sell one 4-ounce bottle is $4.67. That is your cost of good. Okay. This was a very lengthy process. This can be done a lot simpler if you use tools like AI. But I do think it's important to understand how you get this information just as a business owner. You want to be knowledgeable about your cost of good, especially when you begin to talk to other people. And even if you want to start like looking into manufacturing and stuff, you want to be conscious of what your own cost of good is. But as a business owner, we constantly want to be thinking about ways we can get our cost of goods down. That's just something that we should always be thinking in the back of our mind. Also, the cost of good is going to change over time. Our economy has changed quite a bit. Shipping prices have changed. The cost of the ingredients of different oils and butters, they have went up. So you want to be reevaluating these over time. And so it is helpful if you get all of this in a spreadsheet. It's just easier to work with the data versus like keeping it all in a notebook. But whatever works for you and however you process this the best, do that. You know how you learn and how you keep information best. What we just wrapped up, that would be finding the cost of good if you are making the product. All right. If you are buying the product from another company and you're getting it wholesale, this is how you would do that. All right. It's the same process. It's just a little bit simpler because you don't have to figure out how much all the ingredients cost. Okay. So example, if you were to go buy a 32-ounce body oil from someplace and it costs you, again, include the taxes and shipping. All right. If it costs you $48.86, you're going to take $48.86 and you're going to divide it by 32. That's going to give you $1.53 per ounce. Okay. Then you're going to multiply that by however much you're putting in your bottle. So we'll use 4 ounces again. So you'll do your $1.53 times 4, and that's going to give you $6.12 for the oil. If you have to go out and purchase the bottles to fill them yourself, you'll have to get your bottle cost. You'll also have to get your label cost. If you are doing private label, and the item already comes in a bottle, then you would just add your label cost. If you're doing white label and everything just comes ready for you to just sell, don't have to do anything, then you would just take that cost divided by however many you purchased, and that will be your cost of good. So as y'all can see, this process can really be simplified if you do purchase wholesale, but it's all about what you're trying to build, what works for you. A lot of people, they will make products and they'll wholesale products. So it's just whatever works for y'all. Okay. And then, so that's all that I have for my notes. Again, keep this in mind. Your cost of goods are going to vary. So you do want to get in the habit of maybe twice a year, or depending on how much the economy is shifting, maybe even once a quarter, running back through your cost of goods and making sure that you're not taking a hit. If you're taking a hit, you may have to readjust your formulas or something. I know a lot of people, when the price of cocoa butter was going up, they were having to cut products, or they were having to find ingredients to replace that particular ingredient that was going up, like cocoa butter. So this is just really important for us to pay attention to be aware of, to have knowledge of, because it truly does have a very, very large impact on our profitability. A couple other things I want you to keep in mind is we've talked about the ingredients in the product, we've talked about the bottle or the container that you're using, the labels. I have mentioned if there are any items that you include in your package, so whether that's a thank you card, an insert, or maybe in every single package you use a certain type of packaging, whether it's packing paper or peanuts or crinkle paper, whatever it is, you want to make sure that you are adding that in if that is a recurring cost for you. Now, if you're getting packing materials free, then that's probably not something you need to worry about as much. There are particular things like I send out a little sticker with every single one of my orders. And so that's included in my cost because that goes with every single order. Now, maybe it only costs a penny or 2 pennies. It's going in there because it's part of the cost, right? Some people, they also add in time to their cost. I personally don't add in any labor costs or anything like that. But if that's something that you're interested in, look into that and how you can do that in a way that makes sense for you. So I hope this was helpful. Now that y'all know how to calculate your cost per good, you can apply this to any single product that you sell. Again, the beginning process of it is a little tedious, but once you figure out your cost per ounce or per gram, it becomes rather easy to just multiply that particular cost once you get it towards whatever formula you're using. So now that we have our cost of good, the next step is to determine what your markup is going to be. So I know myself, I personally lowballed my pricing by a lot when I first started. And so I will be doing a video to talk about your markup, your profit margin, because as business owners, it is crucial. It's crucial for us to be aware of profitability in our business. None of us, hopefully, um, are running a business and not making any money. If you've just started, maybe you're a year or two in, yeah, you're trying to recoup cost and maybe even up to, a couple of years, especially if you're not doing this full time, like you're trying to recoup cost, right? But at some point you want to be profitable and it starts with your pricing. And so I'll be talking about that in the next video. If y'all are interested, please subscribe so that you can learn more about that. Again, if y'all have any questions, drop them in the comments, and I will see y'all in the next video. I love y'all.